we've seen a lot of CEOs and creators come out and say we need to stop chasing global audiences and look to our home markets again. And now the Kadokawa CEO is emphasizing a Japan first approach to stories, and you love to see this happening. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, I don't necessarily blame companies for trying to branch out and reach the largest audience possible, but it is very clear that over the years, it has not worked out well for them. They have lost a lot of money, and we have seen some companies even go under because of this decision, and they need to change things fast. They need to reverse course. They need to focus on their home market again. And some of them are actually listening to customers. Some of them have this as their future plan. But the more creators and CEOs we see coming out and saying this, the more hopeful I become about Japanese stories going back to the way that they once were. And even Sony apparently wants to compete against Nintendo in Japan again. They're going to be focusing less, allegedly, on the Ghost of Yotes and The Last of Us. And we're going to see the stories that they once used to tell again. Take everything with a grain of salt, be cautiously optimistic, but now the Kadokawa CEO is emphasizing a Japan first approach to story, saying you can create more unique works by not marketing with the mindset of let's make a manga that will sell globally, and this is fantastic. So it says the Kadokawa CEO and president was interviewed about overseas expansion and the global potential of Japanese content. He praised the country's diversity and storytelling, even by global standards, and the various outlets to discover new creators. He added, if you create content that sells in Japan, it will sell overseas. You can create unique works by not marketing with the mindset of let's make a manga that will sell globally. It's necessary to create a wide variety of intellectual property without compromising on quality. And it is so freaking true, because the reason why Japanese video games and anime and manga got so popular around the world is because the stories were unique, they were special. We were seeing creators take different risks, and if they do just copy the Western video game industry, for example, and everything is sanitized to appeal to modern sensibilities and global audiences, everything is going to be boring, and then people are going to go, I'm not really interested in the stories you're telling anymore. And we are seeing a lot of competition amongst Eastern creators, whether that is South Korea, even China and Japan. And well, I want them to thrive. I want them to do amazing, and I want them to be creating unique stories. So hearing, right, them come out and say this, that if you just create content that sells in Japan, it will sell overseas. It's so true. And we've been saying this for a very long time now. His words also follow those of Evangelion's Hideki Anno, which I did another video on, but he said that Japanese media should focus on domestic audiences, not overseas. I think it can be accepted, but we can't adjust on our side. Protecting Japan's unique cultural identity should come first and foremost. These people should not be forced into sanitizing their content for other markets and other regions. And yeah, I do not think that there were any lies detected in any of these interviews, in any of these statements. Now, I do think that it is especially interesting that Kadokawa's CEO is now coming out and emphasizing this Japan first approach, because we do know that Sony is doing the same thing now. And if you don't remember, Sony had become the largest shareholder in From Software's parent company Kadokawa back at the very end of 2024, so about a year ago, give or take a little bit, which sounds very intentionally timed. Like suddenly Sony becomes the largest shareholder. Kadokawa CEOs coming out and saying this, and Sony is also wanting to compete again in the market because Sony is preparing to take on Nintendo in Japan. The previous PlayStation leadership wasn't worried about losing ground in Japan to Nintendo. However, the new Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO, Hideki Nishino, feels the opposite and now sees it as a priority. And to even add to that, there was a rumor circulating that Sony could ditch Western studios and may shift to Japanese developers and traditional stories for exclusives if Ghost of Yotei and Intergalactic The Heretic Prophet fail, which, wow, hearing all of this at once does give me a little bit of hope, but of course, I do not trust Sony. I do not trust any company at this point, and so their actions will speak louder than words. But when you find out that all of this news has dropped within a few weeks from each other, it really seems like there is something going on behind the scenes, that they are going to be making this major change. And well, this is being received with very positive feedback. Good. Hopefully, things reverse course and Japan does what it should do, which is preserve their culture and tell us all to screw off with our Western ideals. They're finally starting to understand that their works became popular because they weren't dumbed down and sanitized for the rest of the world. Good. No one should focus on what the global market thinks or be forced to bend over backwards for those that don't even watch the series or get involved with the communities these creators made. I am happy to hear this Kadokawa is the owner of a subscription service I use almost daily, and that's J Novel Club. Anime and other culturally Japanese things did not become popular by being understood and changed, so a local populace elsewhere could make sense of it in their cultural view. I hope Kadokawa can do it. I was concerned when big money was being moved to Japan to invest into and conquer the anime industry 2 years ago, and yes, Sony also has an anime monopoly in the West now, which maybe they're finally sitting down and saying, we can use this to our benefit, and we can actually make a lot of more money on this if we just let the creators do what they want. Who knows, though? That definitely is wishful thinking. So based, absolutely love to see it. Japan making manga and anime with the Japan first approach is exactly why I fell in love with them in the first place. So glad to see this becoming the common sentiment among those that have influence and make decisions in the industry. And I haven't really seen the Kadokawa CEO say anything like this recently. Typically, I'm pretty good about following the statements of these large CEOs, but I do think that it is quite interesting. Now, again, I do think it is very important to point out everything that's going on with Sony. Is this because of Sony? Maybe not, but it seems that there is a big shift going on right now. Maybe these companies are all just sick of losing money, but you love to see a CEO emphasizing a Japan first approach, as we have seen so many creators say over the past couple of months to really a year. And I hope, for the sake of our entertainment, that things do get better and that this does go somewhere, and that it's not them just saying what people want to hear, but not actually putting their best foot forward and really making large changes. So I'll keep my eye on this, but for now, that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.